Alright, so second game, opening hand is decent. We have 3 lands available, but again, this is a tricky thing because the deck is heavier on the green mana base in order to find those enchantments and get the other colors you need. So I do have 3 lands, however they're all green, and therefore I am unable to play the other 4 cards in hand. I do decide that I wanted to not chance mulliganing here and just go with it. Now I will warn you, this is a little bit of a longer game, but more importantly there was some poor play on my part, I believe, in the beginning. So you might see this and start wailing and gnashing teeth, but at least bear with me. I know that there was some poor play and that I can get things going as the game progresses. So one of the things that we do get a little bit of extra use out of is Prophetic Prism. It's something that has really been growing on me since, you know, you have Is It Post and all these big post decks that have been so successful. And, you know, in playing those and using the Prism, it's really, really grown on me for as simple as it is, you know, to change a color and draw a card. But that's going to give us the opportunity that we were looking for to find the blue mana to play our reality assets, the white for the Skyfishers, and so on. So my opponent is playing a black and green dredge deck, and I think part of my issue with this matchup in the early game issues that I may have had and misplays you may see is I was just a little unsure of how to approach the deck and the matchup. Drawn to a Utopia Sprawl here, that's great, going to give us again an opportunity to pick a color and expand not only our mana base, but give us some options for getting the reality asset in. We can play that first and then also get our Prism back into play. Drawing a Lone Missionary here. So down comes a Green Seeker, is going to discard a Shambling Shell. This is something I am not totally worried about as a dredge creature because of the fact that, you know, we do have some options on the Stalkers with that 5 toughness that can just be walls across the ground. The bigger issue is when the Stinkweed Imps come around, and it's kind of interesting. You saw the last game had to deal with Stinkweed Imp, and here I'm doing it again. And I think the dredge ability kind of really throws me off here for a little bit until I got my mindset and decided where I wanted to go with things. So we're going to miss our third land drop. I'm sorry, land draw here, but we do have 3 off the Sprawl. Going to put that down. I decided what I wanted to get rid of first was the Green Seeker because of the fact that he would be discarding creatures. I felt at this time it was kind of a toss-up between the two, and I just wanted to get things started and start clearing away the creatures on the board. So finally hitting his 3 land here, he attacks through. And I started thinking at this point, down comes Stinkweed Imp, I started thinking, well, maybe this is not where I wanted to go. Maybe I don't really need to care about these little 1/1 creatures. Maybe what I need to worry about is the mana base. So if I get rid of his lands and I get him off of lands, he doesn't have enough to play the creatures when he dredges them. So that's where I started to head with this. When I play the Skyfisher here, it's going to kill this off, but you'll see then I decide later on, you know, I'm going to take the 1 damage to the Stinkweed Imp instead of blocking it with Skyfisher, because at that rate, he's going to be doing 1 per turn, and I'm going to be doing 2, and even though he is ahead now, I can easily catch up on the life count. So, draws a card, gets his land. Stinkweed Imp, you see, is going to go through, so I attack first, draw into a Stalker, gives me another option for getting rid of Reality Acid. Grizzly Salvage coming down, and this is where things are going to get complicated once again because of things like the brown scale. So it makes things hard, you know, like I said, I can get through and I can win this race of 1 versus 2, but he's going to have a lot of opportunities to gain life. So again, I wasn't totally sure at the beginning here how to approach this, and I think I got it together as the game progressed. But so damage going through on that. I am going to put Reality Acid back into play, and this is, you see, where I make that move, and I think, you know, in retrospect, this was a bad move, and I don't think this was the right play. This is, you know, like I said just a minute ago, I was thinking that, hey, if I can get rid of his land base, then this isn't going to be a problem. What I wasn't really considering is the fact that he does have the Seer here that gives him some opportunity to really accelerate his lands. Even the Grizzly Salvage is going to give him some options as far as accelerating his mana base, and it's going to be very hard for me to get Reality Acid going enough times that I can completely get him off of land. And I think the ideal part would be getting him below 3. I think if he was at 2 lands, he would be a little bit hard-pressed. Things like the Brown Scale, the Stinkweed Imp, and our little Shambler here, Shambling Shell, will be at that 3 converted mana cost point, and hard for him to play if he's only on 2 lands. This is just, it clearly doesn't start going well. Like I said, the Seer gives him a lot of opportunities to accelerate his land. And even the Grizzly Salvage gives him an opportunity. He is deciding whether he wants a creature or a land off of that, and he can sit here and say, okay, well, there's lands here, and I need lands because he's going to destroy one, so I can just take a land and put it into play. And I believe that is exactly what he does here with the Guild Gate. So down comes the Dragon Shadow, and that's something that I was a little unsure of. Let's see, does he have in his graveyard yet? No. We'll remind myself of the name when it comes into play. I thought this was an interesting addition. The deck with just the dredge abilities was something that I was going to struggle with. But the dragon enchantments are something. I think maybe he should have had the haste one in here, but he was using them on the golem that is affinity for forests. So it was a really interesting thing. So again, going to attack through and trying to keep the life race at least somewhere close. Going to take this opportunity to play the Stalker and return my Reality Acid, but again, I'm realizing at this point that my initial plan of destroying his mana base may not have been so well founded, and that I should probably go with a new approach. I started thinking at this point, now the Stinkweed Imp is a 2 attack, I can't win this race anymore. The Shambling Shell is going to give him opportunities to keep pumping this Stinkweed Imp. So I started thinking, okay, well, what I need to do now is use the Reality Acid and at least get rid of the Stinkweed Imp. Like I said last game, he gets opportunities because of Dredge to get it back and put it back into play, but what it costs him is 5 cards to the graveyard, it costs him 3 mana to play it, and then he can't attack with it until the following turn. So it'll slow the game down because I am not likely to attack into it, but at the same time, it's going to stall things out just a little bit until maybe I can find a better answer. So drawn to Wild Growth, just building up my mana base. Really, I think 5 is going to be that sweet spot because, again, like I said, it gives me enough mana that I can play Reality Acid and return it to my hand in the same turn. So with it tapped, I'm obviously going to swing through. Again, the race is a little bit different because of the fact that he now has a chance to attack for 2 with that Dragon enchantment. Tapping out, here it is, Tangle Golem. For all of you who are sitting there all upset that I couldn't remember, I know you're out there because I do it to people all the time when I'm watching videos. Tangle Golem is going to get him these extra enchantments, giving him trample and whatnot, so that's going to be definitely something that is hard to deal with. Thankfully for me, I am slowly approaching that point where I have 5 mana available to me and I can use it to kill off the Tangle Golems. At this point in time, I can't quite do it. I would need to be able to play Reality Acid and return it. In order to get my Reality Acid back, I'm going to have to simply play the Stalker and return it, and I'll worry about killing that Tangle Golem the following turn. Not so difficult with this trample because the Stalker's 5 toughness. I can double block on those and I will take no extra damage. Still going to give me an opportunity here to bring the life totals closer together as I attack through with the Skyfisher. Putting down Visionary, drawing more cards, always a good thing. Hand is actually pretty great. Going through a game this long and still having 7 cards to me is fantastic. I also have 3 Mulldrifters and 2 Lone Missionaries, which will give me a lot of great options later on. So Stinkweed Imp, as I expected, comes back into play. Again, like I said, his land base was something that, you can see now where it was definitely a mistake to even attempt to do that, and I probably should have gone after the Stinkweed Imps earlier on. What I started to realize is the Stinkweed Imp has a Dredge 5. My opponent at this point in time, we are here on turn 9. It is turn 9 and he's only got 20 cards left in his deck. So at this point, what my immediate thought is, okay, I'm obviously going to have a hard time getting through the Stinkweed Imp to do enough damage to finish him off. So my new strategy is that I was just going to delay this game as long as possible until my opponent decked himself through Dredge. And you'll see how it goes. But he's going to attack through here. I am going to take the chance to double block with the Stalker. There's nothing I can do to actually kill it off through combat damage. I will lose the Stalker here, but that's okay. I still have a Blink, which will give me options to return either a Stalker or the Skyfisher later on. So finally, I get that opportunity. I can play the Reality Acid and get rid of this Tangle Golem. Going to take the chance and blink the Skyfisher again. I'm not going to attack into the Stinkweed Imp. I really wanted to play this kind of passively. He is going to be able to attack through, and I am, again, like I said, not going to block until I find it absolutely necessary. This will also get rid of, which is great here, the double Grim Harvest that he had in his graveyard. That's going to keep him off of those Tangle Golem once again. Excuse me, stuttering there. So, passing the turns along, and this will slow down a little bit. Another Grim Harvest is coming around. He does get that Tangle Golem back. But, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for me, these, affinity with Forest, he's only got 3 going on, so I guess that's a bit of a drawback with the deck. But either way, he's going to get these Dragon enchantments back. It is now an 8/6 that I have to deal with, and it's okay because at this point in time, I have mana available to play Reality Acid and return it in the same turn. What I need at this point is I need an additional land to flash back Momentary Blink on the same turn as Reality Acid, or I need to draw into a Stalker, a Skyfisher, the Familiar, or a new Blink in order to, like I said, get rid of that on this same turn. Thankfully for me, I do top deck into the card that I needed, but the odds are actually pretty good. I don't want to do the math here, but I think the odds were actually pretty good that I drew into an answer because I had so many options available. So with the Imp tapped, I am going to swing through for 2, again keeping it close, and I am going to blink the Skyfisher in order to have a blocker available later on. Again, like I said, as my life gets lower, I'm going to take opportunities to be a little more passive, though we do have these 2 missionaries. The reason I haven't played those or the Muldrifters at this point in time is mostly the fact that I wanted to be able to do Reality Acid, and Reality Acid combo takes so much mana, and there's so many things I want to kill off with it that I'm just not having a chance just yet to do any of these other plays. And I don't need to really play a Muldrifter even because I'm still at 6 cards in hand. So he's getting rid of another Grim Harvest there because he was tapped out and losing the Golem. Plays another Stinkweed Imp and a Brown Scale. So he's starting to realize where things are going. He's going to have a lot of chances here to get my life pretty low, but I am going to be able to put out some blockers finally. I'm going to sit here in Reality Acid with that extra Forest. I can now use a flashback. I don't know, I'm having trouble saying that today. Flashback on Momentary Blink and get rid of one of the Stinkweed Imps, which is enough to get through for 2 damage. He's starting to really build up a creature wall here, including the Shambling Horror, which is going to be able to... man, I keep messing things up today. Shambling Shell. He's going to be able to do an extra bit of damage here, and I'm going to get pretty low, but again, I do have these 2 missionaries. Worst case scenario, I can play these next turn. You see he's down to 13 cards left in his deck. So Wild Growth coming down, Reality Acid here, and enough to flash that back and kill off that Stinkweed Imp. Thankfully for me, he does use those Shambling Shells for the extra +1 counters, leaving the Fisher back to block. Boy. And that's going to give me chances to stop both the Golgari Brown Scales without losing either of these creatures, and I'm going to go down to 2 life. Thankfully for me, he does not have anything to pump these up, and I am going to be able to really get things going later on. Close these out of here. Alright, so as you can see, next turn my first priority is going to be obviously the missionaries. I want to get my life total back up, and things get a little bit silly. He does play a Gnaw to the Bone, as you see here, which gives him 2 life for each creature card in his graveyard. After basically milling himself out this game, he has plenty of life to be gained, goes up to 50, and the missionaries here will put me up to 10, which is going to be great. Gives me 2 additional blockers, also gives me a chance to get back into this game. No mana left to play a Muldrifter, 1 short, but I am going to simply put out a Reality Acid. Even if I can't get it back just yet, having it in play gives it a chance that it can either die on its own, or that I do find something later on to return it. So especially when you have 2 in hand, getting one of those into play and just letting it tick down is not a bad idea. Gets himself another Tangle Golem, and this will be game for him if I did not have Reality Acid. And I really need, I think at this point in time, I need to top deck into an answer to return the Reality Acid. So I make my blocks here, going down to 8, leaving the missionary back, just in case I need a little bit of extra toughness to block down this Tangle Golem. So, on the draw here, client seems to be slowing down a little bit, draw into another Reality Acid. Alright, so here's where I paused for a minute to do a bit of math. Trying to determine what I need is to find one of these 2-cost return spells, and I need 5 mana to be able to play the return spell as well as the Reality Acid. So I was doing a bit of math to see, do I have enough to maybe evoke a Muldrifter, play it for only 3 mana, in hopes of, in those 2 cards, drawing the 2-cost return spell that I need. So in order to do that, I need 5 plus 3 would be 8. Okay, so a bit of a gamble here. I am going to have to chance it because otherwise this is game over. It has fear and I cannot win this. Luckily for me, I do happen into a momentary blink. Again, the odds are decent with this particular deck that you find one of these answers. So he is going to simply flash back his Gnaw to the Bone again, going up to 92 life. But with this draw on the momentary blink, I have enough mana to play the Reality Acid as well as the blink, and I am going to be able to kill off this Tangle Golem. At this point in time, after this dies, my opponent's at 5 on his turn here. He is going to draw to 4 cards and decides to concede out because he knows that he can't really get through this. He can attack here. I would go down to 7. And on my turn, I could play another Reality Acid. I have these Muldrifters in hand. This game was actually in my favor at this point in time. Even though he's at 92 life, he was going to deck himself out. So a bit sloppy at the beginning. Again, I think I was really unsure on how to approach Dredge because it is not something that I have played very much. And, you know, I think I got my shit together as it progressed. And hopefully you can get a lot out of this particular matchup.